background stuff.
Right. So thank you for joining us here at DataCon LA 2020. Welcome to the data engineering track. Today, we'll be listening to Commandeer Your Data in the Cloud with Alex Tamoykin and Bob Wall. I'm your host, Stephen, and your co-host today will be Justin. Please note some house rules will be posted in the chat. You can ask questions in the Q&A, and Alex and Bob will answer them at the end of the talk. So a few words about Alex and Bob. Alex is CEO and co-founder of Commandeer Incorporated. He has 15 years experience as a software engineer. He also runs Right Balance, which is a software consulting firm for Series B+ startups, bringing the latest tech to great companies. Bob is CTO and co-founder of Commandeer. He's been in software engineering for 20 years, and he is a seasonal technology leader and a veteran of the startup world. So without further ado, I give you Alex and Bob.
All right, awesome. Stephen, thanks for the intros. And again, thanks for organizing this awesome conference. So yeah, let's dive in, and I'm going to share my screen and we'll go through, through the presentation. So share screen. Here we go here. Okay. You guys see my screen?
Yes.
Okay, great. So now I'm going to present. Okay, cool. Well, so we'll talk about Commandeer. It's a desktop app that is here to manage your data in the cloud. So here's what we have on the agenda today. So we'll talk about the three things, which is what, why, and how. So the what, we will go over what kind of data sources we have in the cloud today. In the why section, we'll cover why efficient access to your data and specifically to multiple data sources is important to do your day-to-day work. And in the how, we'll demonstrate how you can use Commandeer to solve the access to your, access to your data that helps you as a data engineer or data scientist. So I think Stephen already went through this, but this is who we are. So we are both seasoned technologists, have been doing it for quite a while, and then at some point we started doing Commandeer, and here we are right now. So been doing it for multiple decades, and now we basically invented the tool that helps you to gain access and take control of your data in the cloud, called Commandeer. So, so where are we at today? So today, data sits in multiple locations. We have data in flat files, like for example, on AWS S3. There's a bunch of NoSQL databases. There's DynamoDB. So we have Cassandra and similar, where we have unstructured JSON data. There's of course our good old SQL database with Postgres, MySQL, SQL Server, Oracle, or things like that. Data today also sits in search. So for example, Algolia is one of the search as a service companies that some folks use. So basically getting access to the search data is also can give you some signals. There is Redis, some data is cached there. So data lakes are getting popular now. So now we have Athena in the play, which is the hosted Hive service from AWS. So as you see, like there's a lot of different places, there's a lot of different tools that you need to have to basically gain access from all these different places. So at the end of the day, data access is everything. So you probably have heard a bunch of different quotes like data is a new oil, and things like that. And it is true, like data enables new opportunities. If you gather data from multiple data sources, then you discover new signals. So access to different kinds of data enables higher engineering efficiency. So you, as an engineer, you spend less time getting to different data sources, but in more time working with your data. And at the end of the day, you deliver more value. So if your data pipeline has a lot of different data and a lot of different sources of data, your pipeline is a lot more useful for the business. You deliver more value to stakeholders. So Commandeer connects dots. Basically, as you see from this illustration, what Commandeer does, it connects to all different services in the cloud, and then using the same consistent user interface from a GUI, you can actually access all your data and all the plumbing connected to that data from the same desktop application. So without further ado, I want to invite my co-founder, Bob Wall, who's gonna show us a demo of Commandeer. So Bob, I'm gonna stop sharing my screen, and you'll need to share yours. And there's also something going on with the virtual background. I think it's this thing's too virtual now, but it's looking cool. I like it. Okay, Bob, I think, hold on, you're on mute.
Hey, can you hear me?
Yeah, now it's good.
So I'm actually on an Ubuntu machine, and they don't have the little checkbox to go no green screen. So I'm on green screen. Unfortunately, there's not a green screen behind me. But yeah, so we'll have to deal with my face kind of looking blue. Can you see the app okay?
Yeah, the app is good.
Okay, cool. Yeah, so so Alex kind of laid out, you know, what we're doing, and yeah, a picture's worth 1,000 words. So the premise of Commandeer is that we've been doing startups for, I don't know, like I'm on like 8 years now or something, and we're very big fans of using different pieces of technology. And one of the advantages of using different pieces of technology is that you can use some of the latest and greatest things and the best of breed type things. The problem with it is that you are mishmashing a lot of stuff. So we basically, what I want to kind of demo today is just one particular use case. In this use case, we have analytics data, and what that is like button clicks and page views and selecting an account inside of Commandeer. And so how we do that is we're using AppSync and we're using GraphQL, and we save that data every time somebody clicks on a button to Dynamo. On that end, then Dynamo is connected to Dynamo Streams, a Lambda at the end of it. So every time a new record comes in, or if 10 records come in, we have it set up that it batches. Those 10 records will get invoked inside of a Lambda. A Lambda is just a function that runs in the cloud. And that piece of Lambda code will then do a couple of things for us. So if it's a new user or something like that, we might get a Slack message to ourselves saying a new user just signed up. If it's a button click or things like that, what we're doing is we save that data to S3. And what we're doing is saving it to an S3 data lake. So if this is DataCon, so I imagine that a lot of people are very familiar with Hive databases and that kind of nature. So in the AWS world, that's called Athena. So what we do is Dynamo, now it goes to a stream, now it gets saved to S3. We then run a crawler, ETL glue crawler, to then create a database table in Athena. And then what you can do with Athena or just a Hive database in general is that you store all your flat files of data partitioned properly, and you can now query it with SQL. So you store it as JSON files or Parquet files, and then it's now queryable. And so this use case is something that we've built Commandeer so that we could dog food it ourselves, because we've been sick of building the same thing over and over, where we would like whiteboard out a great idea, but then really know that we just set ourselves up for 300 to 400 hours worth of development work. So every time we're like making new features, we're most likely using those features internally for our backend system. So if you look now inside of Commandeer, we have our dashboard of Dynamo tables. And you can see here that there's tables and then the number of records in each table. Now, a couple of different pieces that we've then done on top of this is that we have an ER diagram system, which, oh, sorry, guys. Okay, so the ER diagram, we're inferring your data. So this won't work for every use case in terms of Dynamo, because some people do a single table because really Dynamo is just a like Mongo-esque type of NoSQL database. But what we're doing is we just grab the first record in your table and then infer what your data is, which is pretty nice because the helpfulness of NoSQL is awesome, that you can just like continually change your data model and things like that. But then the drawbacks is querying it and actually visualizing it. The next piece is that we have the system diagrams everywhere. So in Dynamo, you can see on the purple boxes are the tables, and then those tables are connected to, or could potentially be connected to, a Lambda, which then is connected to CloudWatch logs for actually seeing like output logs from it. And then you also will have alarms that can be connected to a table. So you can see the team table has these alarms set up. So we're doing a lot of things with like visualizing it because it's very helpful to, one of the big things we're noticing with cloud is that you have to just imagine your system. And we had to imagine our system all the time. So now it's a lot less imagining it. So you can go in here, you can say, here's my analytics account select table. I can now view what the columns are. I can then view what the streams are. So the Dynamo stream is this Lambda. And then you can actually just drill in now to this Lambda. And then what you can also do is we have testing tools. So you can actually run a test where you insert a record into Dynamo and then view the CloudWatch logs of that invocation. But I kind of want to jump into what this is doing, right? So here's the analytics account select. It triggers this Lambda. This Lambda then saves data to S3. So if we go in here and drill into our analytics bucket, we can see that we have all of our data here. And this is an important part. And again, because it's, many of you are data scientists out there, or whatever the current name of the role is, you're familiar with how you have to set up this data. So these are partitioned first by date, and then secondly by user ID. Depending on what your data model is, you'll have to adjust it. We've done ones where it's like by company and employee ID. A lot of times a date record's nice. One reason for that is that when you use Athena, this data is sitting in this, what's called a data lake, and you only pay for data you access. So when you run your queries, you really want to be specific in terms of dates. So you don't, if you run it select all, it's going to hit every single file IO location, and you're going to pay for that. But when you drill down, so when you're doing these kind of analytics things, we have nightly processes that run that summarize data on a daily basis. And so then our next queries might do just yesterday and then summary records for the previous months. So you have to get pretty creative with that. So you can see here's a record of JSON data. So what's nice in our Commandeer tool is that you now have access to the actual S3 buckets and S3 files and all that stuff. So you can see that this is a record inside of the account select, which is just basically when you select an account up here and you switch between it, we're tracking that. And the actual like reason that we're tracking things like this is not for like selling people's data or anything like that. We're really making the system better for users. So there's like pre-selected accounts where you know, like, okay, you are connected to this account most often. We do things like what your most often used services are, and we're building out pieces of that just make it quicker to do your job. So, okay, so now that data is going from Dynamo Stream, Lambda saves it to S3. We then have ETL glue crawlers. And so what a crawler does is it is connected to this bucket, and then it saves it to an Athena database. We're working on this whole UI. All this stuff you can do in the AWS console, but it's, again, just enough to make your head spin. And that's why we've really been focused on this. And this is only touching on 5 of the like 30 services that we have. But just envision that this crawler runs, and really all it does is it says, this is the data definition of your data. So then when we look at Athena, we can see our databases are here. And because the crawler ran, the crawler was able to create an account select table. And that table then has all your data. And now we have a query runner. So I'm sure everybody here is familiar with SQL querying. And one of the tools that we're building is a SQL query IDE for Postgres, MySQL, SQLite, Athena. We're building out ones for Dynamo that it's a little nuanced because you do kind of different than ANSI SQL, but this is just ANSI SQL, which is great. So here you can see I just have some favorited history. And if I select that one, now this actually is running against that table of data, which is really actually just flat files. So these flat files, now you can now get your data, and then you can download this data. You can share this data with anybody via email, Slack, and SMS. This is the other thing, that because we're using best of breed cloud services, we're also enabling the tool to use that. So you could like go to Slack and you can send this to a room in Slack, things like that. Obviously, you want to be careful with what data, and like this is just dummy data that we have. But you do obviously, like, this is a better tool for like your development life cycle and things like that. You obviously don't want to share production data to a general room in Slack. But so we don't have liability on that. But so yeah, you can see here we have a history of queries that you've run, which is pretty nice. So you can actually see all of these queries. And then the interesting part of Athena is that Athena is serverless. So there's actually, what you need to do is you have to specify an output location. So what happens is you query a table, it saves your query and your query results to that bucket. So in here, if we look at the Athena data, you'll see a text file and then a text metadata file. And these are just outputted information about what's run on Athena. The other part of Commandeer that you can see is that we have this whole tabbing system. And I didn't really even get into that. We have this a whole right click, right? So you can go to a specific bucket. You can create a new bucket. Everything is right clickable because this is a native app. So this runs on Mac, Windows, and Linux. And that's the really nice part is that when you're using a web browser, you're just getting that web experience, but we're able to go here and get your full S3 experience. This IDE or this editor is actually using the Monaco editor from Visual Code, so you get kind of the it's just a like grade A IDE type of tool. So you get all the access to mini map if you want it for certain things. So like on big files, we have the mini map, and you can actually see your data. So that's been the biggest issue with like, here is Athena, but then if we want to just quickly jump into like the actual underlying data inside of Dynamo, we can look at the data here as well. And this is the Dynamo data. And we're actually doing some intelligent formatting as well. So you can look at this data raw, but then we just basically kind of do inferences and have emojis and color coded like checkboxes and all that stuff to kind of make it simpler. So, and that, oh yeah. So, and then from inside of there, you can actually pull up your data and see your record here, where this is the raw JSON, and then we format it here. A new feature that we're adding on to this is that we're going to have, so in here, you can see that there's a user ID record. We're going to do inferences that is connected to the user table, and actually bring back that user record with it as well. And that's when it's going to start really getting crazy, because it's like we're taking NoSQL and making it SQL in a way. But let's see. I think that's all. I mean, yeah, there's some other query saved. Like you can do, inner joins of like, this one's the page view versus user. This is just my test stuff. So this is a good example of like what I've been working on. So when Alex is like, "What are you working on, Bob?" I can kind of give a breakdown of I was probably working on Athena a lot. And so you can kind of do all your querying. So we don't have, on our backend, we don't have a SQL database. We have Dynamo where the data goes in, and then Lambda streams out. And we're actually, as I'm going deeper onto ETL Glue or AWS Glue, you can actually set up crawlers to hit Dynamo. So the extra step of where I'm taking a Lambda and then saving it to S3, that kind of will get deprecated, because here you can see this particular crawler goes Dynamo table directly to Athena database. And yeah, so we think like we're huge fans of what AWS has created in terms of, this is under the hood, this is using all of their SDKs, and everything that they build is API driven. And we're just really building on that UI, and then really connecting not only services within AWS, but then also connecting it to like Algolia and some newer things that like we have in our API gateway. If you look at a resource, so this is our version endpoint, which is connected to a Lambda, and we actually have a testing tool here where we're working on getting some Postman functionality, where this gives you all your resources and then you have all your tests in Postman. We can run an endpoint test here. And what's interesting, most of you have probably seen endpoints. So you can see that the body comes back and the headers come back. But then what gets more interesting is normally what you'll see on an API is just a 400 status, or this is a 200 status, or a 500 status for a server error. But now we have also the API gateway logs, which are pretty interesting pieces because you can see some stuff. But then we also, because this is all tied together, this is the actual CloudWatch logs, which is the Lambda invocation. So now if you're completely serverless, you're going API gateway to Lambda, and you're seeing the CloudWatch log in one place. Same thing with AppSync, that we're going to build out the GraphQL editor, and you run a GraphQL statement against your system, and you actually see, and yeah, AppSync is even crazier because you might have lambdas, you might have multiple lambdas in the pipeline, all that kind of good stuff. So I think that's about it for the demo. I could go on and on, but I think I've probably allotted most of my time.
Yeah, thanks, Bob. So, no, I think it's a great demo. So, yeah, so let's get back to the slides. I'll finish it up and we'll get to the questions. I think we're doing good on time, so we should be within the time frame. So if you can start sharing your screen, I can share mine, and we will get to the next step.
All right, let's see. Are you able to steal it from me?
And I think it says that you need to cancel it first, so I'll do it. But looks like you're in a full screen mode, so you'll need to get out of that. And there's usually like a bar at the top. You can click.
Oh yeah.
Unless we can. Oh yeah. Yeah, here we go. So let me share mine. Here we go, desktop. I'm just going to share the whole entire desktop. So, wait. Oh, here we go. So, yeah, I think that's pretty much it. So, Bob, thanks for the demo. Here's let's just recap what we went through. So we talked about what data we have in the cloud today. Talked about the why accessing your data is important for doing your day-to-day work, and we went over the how to show you how you can use Commandeer for solving the access to your data. So and that's pretty much it. So we are at getcommandeer.com. So everything's on our website. So our socials are on our website. So you know there's a link to GitHub on our website as well. So you can download the app as well. So basically, we encourage you to check out the tool, download the free version of this, play with this, give us any kind of feedback, and yeah. So I mean, but from on my end is that we're big advocates for engineering tools in general, and that's why we created this tool in the first place. So we're in over 100 countries now worldwide. The usage just keeps going up. So yeah, I would just encourage you to check it out and get us any feedback. So we're looking forward to hear from you. That's pretty much it. So Stephen, should we get into the questions?
Yes. So thank you, Alex and Bob, for that wonderful talk. So yeah, we can get started with the questions now. So I actually put a question in. So you can just go to the do you have the Whova chat open? You can just look at the session Q&A.
So let me then, what are we doing? We stop sharing and the Whova chat, 1 second. So while I'm logging in, do you have the top questions?
Yes. So the top question is the one I put in, and it's what sort of functionality do you offer for real-time streaming data?
Real-time streaming data. Bob, do you want to take that one?
Yeah. So one piece of are you meaning like streaming data like logs or Kinesis?
I guess Kinesis, yeah.
Okay, yeah. So Kinesis is on our pipeline, on our roadmap. So right now we're building out the AWS Glue piece, which should get released in the next 2 to 3 weeks, and we released Athena about a month ago, and Kinesis and Redshift are two of the big data pieces that we're looking to get out next after that. So in the next couple months, and we're kind of getting we've already started developing the Redshift piece of it. but we've talked about the Kinesis part, but we haven't executed on it yet. We also have SQS in here, and they're seeing a lot of good usage on that. So you can see all your queues. You can throw messages into the queue. You can view messages that are in the queue, and we're seeing some good usage on that. So yeah, so it's on our roadmap.
So,
Great.
Stephen, would you mind getting us some more Q&A questions? I think there's something with my login, unfortunately.
Okay, so I guess I can read them. The questions. There don't seem to be too many others at the moment. So I invite all the attendees, right, to please submit questions to the Q&A, so that if you have anything you'd like to ask Alex and Bob.
Okay, cool. So that's so do we have any more besides yours?
No.
Okay, so we're good then.
Alex, is your shirt pink or salmon?
It is, I think, pink. I think it's a pink one.
Yeah, actually, my polo is pink as well. So we.
Yeah. It's
we didn't try it.
It's a match. It's a consistency. That's what we're going for. It's a consistency thing.
So we do have a question that someone posted in the chat. So I'd like to advise attendees that they should post in the Q&A and not the chat. So the question is, does this complement Power BI?
So Power BI, I would assume this is the like a diagram, but sorry, the visualizing tool, right? Power BI, that's what it is. So any of those BI tools, like Amazon has QuickSight as well. So there's Tableau and a whole bunch of tools. They connect straight to the data. And what they do is that you query it, you visualize it, you then get visualization of your data. So it's something that we talked about adding, but that being said, it is more of a as of today, Commandeer solves data access, and it gets you to your data from the same place. So I would say it's made more for development of your data pipelines today. It is on our roadmap to add more useful features for doing the actual analysis and visualization, like Power BI. I would say today you can use Commandeer for developing your pipelines as opposed to analyzing them as of today. But again, in the future, we add in those things in.
Yeah, and because we've been focused in this particular presentation on the data side of it, because it's obviously being DataCon. The other aspect that we didn't get into about Commandeer in general is that there's a lot of IAC. So we have runners for serverless and Ansible that actually create your infrastructure. And then we also have Docker and local stack support. So Docker, of course, is running containers and images and things like that. And we have a complete UI for that. And local stack is a local representation of AWS, where you can have all your services, but you're not actually paying for them, and you're not actually going over the network. So we may get to that like Power BI type of thing in the future, but what we're really focused on is being able to allow engineers and data scientists to see the actual plumbing and the basic data of their system, and specifically right now on AWS. On our roadmap, Azure and Google Cloud are pieces that we're going to be focused on, because right now we're seeing our best services being like S3 and Dynamo and Lambda and SQS. So it's really just being able to get a good visual on these cloud tools. I don't know if like the market of the BI, like the Power BI stuff, the real like ETL and then analysis and all is what we're like. It's not what we're really focused on. We're like, because another aspect is data engineers, so that they can like kind of bridge that gap and see stuff. Because right now, you just like, if you're using local stack and you want to access S3, you can only see it from the command line, and you can only like query it. You can say, here's my list of files, but you can't like look at a file. Whereas we're saying you can now visualize all your data. So, so yeah, I think it is a complementary tool. It's not a attempted replacement of any kind of BI, like sophisticated BI tools.
Yeah, that's actually a good, important point, that we are not here to replace all the tools that you already use in it. It is more complementary to the tools that you already use. Yeah. So Steven, how are we doing? Are we good? Are we good on questions?
So I'm checking the Q&A, and I don't see any other questions for the time being. So we can go back to discussing the Bob's like awesome green screen, which makes him look like he's kind of like a phantom. So
yeah, and I think if folks can post stuff in the chat, we can also use the chat as well. So
yes,
I think we can use either or. But if we're good, then I think we're pretty much good to go. So unless Bob, do you have anything to add?
No, I mean, hopefully we can get some feedback after some usage from everybody out there, and we're really excited. We've been building this for 1.5 years now, and it's definitely our passion project. So we're super responsive, and this is our main thing. So we're trying to help a lot of people escape or never have to have the frustration that we have had when you get thrown into a cloud world in the new job.
Yeah.
all right,
Cool.
great.
All right, well, go ahead, Sim.
So thank you, Alex and Bob, for your interesting presentation, and I appreciate all the attendees for their questions and interactions during the session. So please contact the speakers if you have further questions on this talk. I'll remind you that the session Q&A and chat will remain open, but they will not be moderated. So please provide your comments and feedback to us on the community board, or start a discussion there to connect with others in the DataCon LA 2020 community. Thank you all for joining today's presentation, and I hope you can gain some insights from this session. Have a wonderful day, and thanks for being a part of this year's DataCon LA. So thank you, Alex. Thank you, Bob, and have a good day, everyone.
See you guys.
Awesome. Yeah, thanks for having us. All right, later.
Bye.